What is up, NFC East football fans? Welcome into another episode of the NFC East Roundtable, powered by BetUS, where the game begins. Receive a 125% sign-up bonus via the link in the description below, up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. The first weekend of preseason football is in the books, and we have plenty to talk about from our NFC East panel. So without further ado, let's bring him on, starting with my man, Rio Robinson. Rio, what's happening, brother?
What's going on, man? 1 week of the preseason in the books. My boys just finished up joint practice with the Miami Dolphins earlier today. I'm ready for preseason week number 2.
Love it. Coming up next, representing the New York Giants, it's Kid Blue. KB, what's up, my man?
What's going on, man? Listen, the Giants got themselves a win. We're gonna be seeing a lot of those W's coming this season. You know that this is just the beginning. It's just the beginning.
And then, of course, the reigning NFC champ, representing the Dallas Cowboys, Jay Tuck. Jay Tuck, what's happening, brother?
Everybody, what's up, Cowboys Nation? I'm feeling good, man. Our first round draft pick in Tyler Guyton is looking fabulous. Cooper Beebe's out there putting people in the dirt, man. So I'm ready for football season to kick off because I got to talk to these two and the one that's absent, because I feel
y'all know linemen over there. I'll give y'all that. Y'all know offensive linemen.
It's something in the water, man.
Yeah,
it's something in the water when it comes to Dallas, man.
Yeah, man.
You still choked the preseason game, man.
I was just going to say, KB, the boys were kind of dogging on you last week, and look who's laughing now. The lone winner. The lone winner.
What can I say?
Enjoy every way you can get, KB.
Listen. The saying goes back as far as the beginning of time. A win is a win. You know what I'm saying? I'll take it. Listen, Stetson Bennett threw 4 interceptions. You guys still managed to lose the game. So, you know.
We're going to dive into it all. By the way, if you are a Philadelphia Eagles fan wondering where the heck is Philly Mike will not be joining us tonight because the Philadelphia Eagles have a preseason game of their own. They're kicking off week 2 already, boys. They're kicking it off tonight against the New England Patriots in about an hour from now. So Philly Mike won't be with us tonight, but you'll be able to catch him with us next week. So before we get into preseason week 2, which does start tonight, we got to talk about preseason week 1. And Rio, I've been excited to talk to you because you are exactly where I want to start, because who got the start this past weekend is the future of the franchise. What I love about this roundtable this year is I get to watch you progress through the maturation of Jayden Daniels and what that's going to look like for the future of your program. So he gets the start. He gets 1 series and fireworks. We get a 42-yard bomb right out of the gates. Talk me through what that did for you. I know it's just preseason, but it had to have felt great. Talk me through that experience and overall what you took away from the game this past weekend against the Jets.
Sometimes as a fan, you just need validation. There are things you know about your team. There are things you tell the world about your team, but it's different when you see them, and the world can see them as well. One of the more interesting topics in the NFL this year is the 2024 NFL QB class. Jayden comes out, first pass of the game. He gets some pressure in his lap, sails a screen pass over Austin Eckler's head. I think he forgot Austin Eckler's half the size of Brian Robinson, threw it right over his head. 3rd down and 6. Not only was the ball beautiful, before we even get to the pass, he checked out of the original play call because he didn't like what he saw of the defense, checked us from a screen to empties all go, and hit De'Ami Brown on a beautiful 42-yard bomb where only he could get it. The coverage was perfect. The defense was perfect, but you cannot beat a perfect pass. Put it right on him. Next pass he threw was a swing pass, bubble screen to Terry. I've seen quarterbacks come in and out of this building who can't throw a screen accurately. So when I tell you the zip on the release and leading someone up the field on a bubble screen, that matters to me. What was the meme say? It means something to me. It means something to me to see someone do the little things. And then you already know we're not going to see much of this during the preseason and training camp. Zone option, read option, keep on the goal line. Get used to seeing Jayden with a smile, ear-to-ear smile on his face, walking into the end zone in the red zone. Easy touchdown, easy work, 7-play drive. That's what Jayden Daniels does, baby. Get used to it.
And I'm glad you mentioned this because I think obviously the most impressive takeaway would easily be, you just launched a 42-yard dime on your first drive of professional football. That would be the biggest takeaway. But what I find to be the most interesting aspect is what you mentioned, the fact that a rookie quarterback in his first series in the NFL checks into that play. Dan Quinn afterwards, he got a laugh out of it. He loved it, even though technically Jayden Daniels wasn't supposed to do that. He equated it to Top Gun because the play ended up working out. So elaborate a little bit more on that for me, because obviously it's exciting to see a play like that go down right out of the gates. But the fact that he had the gusto to go with that play right out of the chutes, to me, I mean, it might not mean everything, but to me, it at least says something.
It does. And what it tells you is this is not your typical. A lot of these rookies in this class, they're not your typical rookies. Jayden Daniels is not 21 years old. He's not wet behind the ears. He's not coming into the league raw like your boy Trey Lance, Tuck. He's not coming into the league like that. This is a guy who started almost 60 games in college. This is your Heisman Trophy winner. This is a guy who's failed at a program and then ascended at the next program he transcended to. So this is not nothing new for him. And he even texted, like Cliff Kingsbury did an interview with Deanna Rossini. He said Jayden was texting him the day before saying, can we go deep on the first play of the game? This guy loves football. This guy loves ball. He plays with a smile on his face. He's talking trash to the vets already. They love him. They treat him like a vet. He's coming in like a vet. It should not surprise anyone that he came in and looked the part. I hope we see more of him, because I got a little spoiled watching all the other rookie quarterbacks throwing it 20 times, 15 times. Even Caleb got to throw it 7 times. I want to see a couple more possessions of Jayden, but it may be time to just hide it and showcase him on September 8th when we got to go up to Tampa Bay. But this should surprise no one, because they love this kid right now in Ashburn. They love everything he's done since he got here.
Collectively, it was an impressive weekend for literally every rookie quarterback. And of course, Jayden Daniels right in the fold. A quarterback who was a rookie quarterback not all that long ago, and a quarterback you just mentioned, Rio. Trey Lance. If you would have asked me over-under amount of pass attempts for Trey Lance in preseason week 1, and you said 20, I probably would have taken the under. If you would have said 40, I would have said, what the hell are you talking about? 41 pass attempts for Trey Lance in preseason week 1, J-Tuck. Obviously, Dak Prescott not out there with the Cowboys this past weekend. Let's start there. What were your thoughts on just seeing Trey Lance operate in this offense under the Dallas Cowboys? And alongside of that, were you expecting that much put on the plate of him right out of the gates in a backup role here to kick off the season?
Nah, honestly, I was shocked, right? Because the quarterback 2 battles between him and Cooper Rush. And when Cooper Rush only got 1 series, I was like, well, that's pretty much just leave Trey for the rest of the game. And, Mike McCarthy spoke about in an interview yesterday that that's probably going to be the trend moving forward. So it seems like it's going to be Trey's team, quote unquote, in preseason. But what it really was is the Dallas Cowboys were test driving it, and they put the pedal to the floor and wanted to see how fast this thing can really go. And Jerry Jones spoke before the game. He wanted to see Trey inside the pocket. So, is it about the QB3 or QB2 position? We don't know. Or they want to see if he's the quarterback of the future, possibly. I don't know. But I did not expect Trey Lance to throw 41 times. But if he had to take the over again coming up on Saturday versus the Raiders, I would probably say they're going to do the same approach, because they really want to test things out. Now, speaking of a young quarterback, we know Trey Lance, number 3 pick in that draft, but just hasn't fared out too well as of yet. Hasn't played in almost 2 years. So I know a lot of people want to instantly say he was horrible and trash. It's like Trey Lance wasn't trash. What you saw on the opposite side for the LA Rams, that was kind of trash. Like Trey Lance was actually kind of mid. He had some decent throws, but he also had some bad throws. So it's a lot of things to work on when it comes to processing, going through his progressions, ball placement, accuracy, all the little tedious things that comes to making an NFL quarterback. So will he be able to build on that? I don't know, but we all know that Trey Lance is a work in progress. The question is, who is really going to take on this project? Because Mike McCarthy, he on a 1-year deal. I ain't got the time to be working with your footwork, bro. I got other problems, so I'm going to focus on Dak. So, I mean, overall for Trey Lance, it was a decent showcase. I think people wanted the fireworks, especially the people who really want Dak going. They wanted that Jayden Daniels type feel, and when they didn't get it, they kind of just sullied in their chairs and got mad at me on Twitter.
What else? Welcome to football being back, where someone gets mad at somebody else on Twitter.
Right.
Get used to it. You mentioned footwork. One other thing that was kind of impressive about Trey Lance, in addition to 41 pass attempts, 44 yards on the ground. You kind of touched on it where you said, are we low-key evaluating for the future here? Look, I know you don't want to sit from that standpoint and even get into that discussion. But do you think there's even the smallest inkling in the back of their minds allowing Trey Lance to throw 41 balls? No one else comes close to that this past weekend. Do you think that that's part of the reason why they're really throwing him out there to the point where he's putting up beyond regular season numbers in a preseason week 1 game?
Yeah, I've been saying when it comes to this Dak Prescott deal that they really wanted to see, because they create some hype, right? So let's say, for instance, Trey Lance went out there and had a Jayden Daniels type moment, then the fan base would have been, and all the big media outlets would, he's the future and he looks so much improved and the Cowboys can win these. But since that didn't happen, Dak Prescott spoke today and it's like, hey, the conversations with the contract are going a lot better, because I said after that preseason game, Dak's price went up drastically, because even if you think that Trey Lance is the quarterback of the Cowboys for the future, me personally, I don't. It's going to be 4 to 5 years down the road. So you see the grays in the beard. I ain't got much longer to be sitting around here waiting for Trey Lance to develop. So me personally, I would think that if you're going to keep Trey, it's just in a backup capacity. If something happens to Dak, 2 to 3 games, maybe kind of modify your offense there. But as far as being the guy that can propel the Cowboys to get over that hump and win a Super Bowl, absolutely not. But if the Cowboys move on from Dak Prescott and think Trey Lance is going to be the future of this team, then I'm probably not going to be on this NFC East, because I don't want to be like Kid Blue. Y'all not about to Kid Blue me on this. I can't. I need Dak Prescott out there, but hopefully the Cowboys aren't that stupid.
Let's transition to K Blue. The sole winner.
Strong soldier.
I can't go out like that, Kid Blue, man.
Giants get the W. 14-3, hold the Lions to just 3 points, despite winning the game this past weekend. It feels like the biggest talking point surrounding the New York Giants is Daniel Jones' new look and the aura, apparently, that he
plus 500 aura.
Yeah, unbelievable. Daniel Jones on the resurgence. He's got the mustache going. People think he was flirting with Kay Adams. He had a hell of a week.
Be careful about that, because yeah, be careful. That's my wife right there.
Yeah,
she's all our wives, bro. We all as an NFL, we just all share Kay Adams as our wives.
Listen, she's in the other room right now, so don't say that too loud. Right?
It was a good outing, KB. It was a good outing. 14-3 W. No Daniel Jones. We'll see him this week against the Texans. But what was your biggest takeaway from that W over the Lions this past weekend?
I think the biggest takeaway I got from it, and I saw a little bit of it when watching the broadcasting, but you don't really see all of it. But when you really go through the film, they really went like deep a lot, and that's something that is so new for a Brian Daboll scheme for the Giants. Obviously, he did it a lot with Josh Allen and with the Bills, but when it came to the Giants, 2022 was like short passes, run after the catch, really short runs orientated, where it's just kind of like move the chains, methodical offense, and it's been like that for the past 2 seasons. But however, we heard in training camp the news that the Giants have just been airing it out all training camp. Like they would completely dedicate a whole week to throwing it deep, and something that's been very new. But I really don't. I take it all with a grain of salt when it comes to these training camp articles, because I'm not there to see it myself. But however, you go into this preseason game, they're looking to go deep almost every single play. When they're reading cover one, they're taking their chances on those wide receivers one-on-one, and some of the looks were there, some of them were not. Obviously, we had the backup offensive line in, so they weren't able to develop any time, and it was raining. But you can see that the play calls are there. They are trying to get this offense to play deep. So I think that's the biggest takeaway for me. And another takeaway is the run game. I thought, no Saquon, no problem apparently right now, because they had 158 yards on a stout Detroit Lions roster. I know that these are against backups, so on and so forth, but they're coached by the same, coach, and it's still the Detroit Lions defense. They absolutely destroy them on the run. And they play well. No Devin Singletary either. So it was all backup running backs, and they were really running it if they weren't throwing deep. So it looks like it's going to be a new offense in New York. I'm excited about it.
I know we have a bunch of Eagles fans in here. They're probably getting stoked for the second iteration of the Eagles preseason coming up in a little bit here against the Patriots. They joined you, KB. The Eagles did. They got a W this past weekend over the Baltimore Ravens. That game was a rough watch. That was a game that came right down to the wire. Both offenses had their struggles. Kenny Pickett got a good amount of time for the Philadelphia Eagles in that one. He went 14-22. Rhea, I'll go down to you. I don't know if you guys wound up tuning into any of this, but I always like to get the vibe from all you guys based on what you see from your opponents. Anything from any of you guys stand out from what you heard or saw coming out of the Eagles game this past weekend?
I'll start with Kenny Pickett. Like, he still stinks, and he's still being treated with the kid gloves that are equivalent to his hand size. He is fighting for his life to be quarterback to who's he competing with? Tanner McKee in Philadelphia, and it actually feels like a competition there. I will say their cornerback, Quinyon Mitchell, that boy is like that. Like, that cornerback, he looked like good. He already almost grabbed one. They weren't even going at him anymore after he almost picked off a ball. He's a problem. So my observation, Kenny Pickett still stinks. Quinyon Mitchell's really good. Didn't tune in much more, but I watched a half of that game. I didn't want to watch anymore.
And it's a good point when you're talking about the secondary there. That's the area the Eagles had to shore up going into this year. It felt like towards the end of last year, you could make an argument that they were playing some of the worst defensive football in that area of the field. And it looks like they really did a great job this offseason trying to revamp it. But, you look at what you got going on in Washington now with Jayden Daniels. Daniel Jones is back healthy. We'll see what winds up coming out of the air game for Brian Dable and him this year. And then, of course, we know what the Cowboys are capable of through the air attack as well. Is that one area for you guys, just focusing in on the Eagles a little bit more, is that one area for you guys that you feel like is advantageous for all three of your teams going up against Philadelphia, or with the new changes that they made this offseason to that area of their team, is it something that you're kind of concerned might end up taking them to that next level, in addition, of course, with adding Saquon Barkley? I'll go with you, Jay Tuck.
I'll say for me personally is our good old friend Kellen Moore. Is our good old friend Kellen Moore. So what he's going to be able to do, he's going to be able to put up godly numbers, and everyone's going to be, oh, whoa, look at the Eagles offense. They're high flying and they're throwing the ball around. But when it gets to the thick of things, a lot of Eagles fans are going to sit back and question, what the hell is that? So for me, they have a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, and I feel like the Eagles personally on paper are the most talented team in the NFL, but I do not trust their coaching staff, right? So that's where me personally, I'm kind of sitting back and waiting for it to fall. But if Nick Sirianni can put it together or keep the reins on Kellen Moore, then they can be a serious problem. But if Kellen Moore is the Kellen Moore that he was in Dallas, and he's the one he's in Chargers, I expect all hell to break loose when A.J. Brown and Smitty are running all these damn stop routes and wondering what the hell is going on, and y'all don't understand why isn't Saquon getting the ball, and things are changing from week to week to week, and what I coined as the no identity offense. So, I know a lot of people thought last year, the Cowboys lost Kellen Moore, their offense is going to fall off the cliff, and all of a sudden everybody just booming. Like Dak Prescott had an MVP season, and then CeeDee Lamb is breaking records, and everything was afloat because Kellen Moore is one of the most genius offensive minds in football, but he's not a play caller. He's a play designer, but not a play caller. So you're really going to have to keep the reins on him. And then side note, I think Kid Blue, you might need to go next door because Kay Adams is already occupied, bro. Hey,
wow. Hey,
conversation y'all need to have, bro.
Hey,
you know what I'm
saying? We got a conversation over here.
My.
Yeah, I didn't hate to blow up the spot.
No, man brought the receipts, man. What is going on?
There's the top rope, and there's going to the top of the Chrysler building and jumping off of that right on.
That boy good. That boy good.
Well, I'm going to have a conversation later. Huh?
Fellas, we're only 2 episodes in, and I'm starting to wonder over the next few months here if we're ever going to be able to top that right there. That was absolutely extraordinary. What a pull from J Tuck. That was crazy.
Wait till I get a picture.
It's all good. I'll get her to come on the channel and explain herself because
I'll pull up a chair right here. I'll pull up a chair right here.
I mean, look
in studio.
Look at it.
I gotta tell you though, look at that. How about it? How about the picture?
Shame.
Yeah,
I will say
I was in the doghouse.
That was charity work. Charity work.
Sometimes I go in the doghouse a little bit. It was worth the doghouse.
It was charity work.
I love how you pulled it up too, like mid rant, like as you're going on, making your point, you're also pulling up.
You had it locked and loaded.
My favorites on my phone. This is my favorite.
You was about to have me hating and dirty macking like he's married.
yeah, it's his wife's birthday. Well,
I will say though, Daniel Jones bought himself a lot of cred. Daniel Jones was having a rough offseason, right? You know, with the Hard Knock situation, it looked like Joe Shane and the fellas were looking to move off of him, and then obviously you're coming off the injury. Yeah, and then he just gets dogged left, right, and center. Then all of a sudden, he's rocking the mustache. He's sitting down with Kay Adams. I'm looking at my Twitter feed, and everybody's like, "Wait a minute,
right?
Daniel Jones season in New York this year? Well,
midlife crisis or what?
You know what it is?
What's going on?
It's so funny that this went mainstream. This obviously went mainstream because he was on Kay Adams' show, but this has been a running theme for Daniel Jones for about, I think, the past 2 or 3 years now, where he will grow out his facial hair. He looks cool. He's got aura. He's walking around. Everybody's like, bro, he looks pretty damn good. And then he shaves it, and everybody's like, all right. Terrible season incoming. So I hope he keeps it, man. I hope he keeps it. If you look good, you play good. You know what I'm saying? So, we'll see what happens there. But I'm hoping the aura keeps up.
There's one player in particular outside of Jayden Daniels that I wanted to talk to you about. We'll get to that in just a second. Right now, I want to remind everybody that this show is powered by BetUS. Link in the description below. 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. Make sure to go and take advantage of that. We looked at it last week. We know how the race is supposed to go. Right now, we have the Eagles at a slight favorite. Cowboys right behind. We haven't had a repeat winner in this division in what feels like a century. Then we got the Commanders. Then we got the G-Men. So if you're looking to go and put a little bit on who you think is going to wind up taking the division this year, head over to that link and make sure to take advantage of that sign-up bonus. Quick word from Mike Vick before I talk to Rio about another rookie on this Commanders team who shined in preseason week 1.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
All right, so Rio, you got the stud rookie quarterback, but of course you got to put pieces around him in order for him to look like a stud rookie quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden we have a stud rookie tight end showing his prowess this past weekend. Ben Sinnott. We had a 42-yard bomb from Jayden Daniels. We had a 44-yard reception from the second tight end taken off the board. Talk me through what you saw from Ben Sinnott this past weekend and how that has you feeling about him and the possible connection he's going to have with Jayden Daniels this upcoming season.
We've been a struggle at tight end for some time. We somehow convinced the world over the last few years that Logan Thomas was a good tight end in this league, and it was so far from the case. But when you're like the only adequate person in the room, sometimes you get a lot of targets, and then a bad injury made him worse. Ben Sinnott looks like a dude. He looks like the 2024 version of Chris Cooley, my favorite tight end that I've had. Like, I love Jordan Reed as well, but Chris Cooley has a place in my heart like no other tight end. He was here when Sean Taylor, Clinton Portis, and Santana Moss and company were here. Best tight end of my lifetime so far. Ben Sinnott, Adam Peters comes over from San Francisco, our new GM. When he drafted Ben Sinnott in the 2nd round, he said, Ben Sinnott is a combination between 2 guys that I had the pleasure of sharing organization with, Kyle Juszczyk and George Kittle. He's like a smorgasbord of both guys because he can play fullback, he can play H-back, tight end, whatever you want to call it. He can do all of the above. He's a really good blocker, but he offers something when the ball's in his hand. He offers rack ability. Caught the ball over the middle of the field. It took 7 guys to bring him down. He was running dudes down the field for like 12 yards. He caught it. He showed some good wiggle. He has sure hands. He's someone we're excited about. There's quite a few guys in this rookie class. Ben Sinnott and Mikey Sanders, still the slot corner we took in the second round, also out of Michigan. Absolute baller. I will already say he's the best cornerback on our team. Our rookie class is going to have a lot to do with any success we have right now. The future is now in Washington.
One of the most underrated aspects of the entire game, special teams. And what I like about the preseason is that whether you have the starters on defense or offense, you're going to have the starting kicker out there getting his reps in. And we know how important that is to get into a rhythm going into the season, keep that confidence high. Brandon Aubrey, out of nowhere last year, all of a sudden looks like he might be the best kicker in the league, or very easily could become that. Jay Tuck, I wanted to ask you about this because he had a lone miss of 65 yards, and it's almost like you got to say, all right, well, what are you going to do at 65 yards? But no touchdowns for the Cowboys this past weekend. 4 out of 5 for Brandon Aubrey in that game. Not everybody can go into a game week in and week out and feel confident that if the game comes down to the wire, they got a guy that they can rely on to get them a win in a very low margin, game, or a very close game at the end. Your thoughts on Brandon Aubrey right off the bat, parlaying last year's incredible performance into a 4 out of 5 start right here in the preseason?
Imagine having a kicker.
Well, correction is Brandon Butter Aubrey. You know what I'm saying? Because he's so smooth, right? But I tell you the craziest thing about Brandon Aubrey. So last year, this time, we were going through a kicking competition, and it was between him and a few other guys, right? Because he was a UFL stash the Cowboys had found. And honestly, when I was out there in camp, he was the most shakiest kicker. And I was just like, oh man, we got a kicker problem. He was wide left, wide right. And I'm like, who is really going to win this kicking competition? But then they just gave it to him out the blue. They cut the other kickers and named Brandon Aubrey as the kicker. And since that moment, he has been clutch, kick after kick after kick, from coming from the UFL to being an all-pro. And then we saw what he did already in the preseason with his wife being pregnant, because as soon as he nailed those 4 kicks, he had a dash to go to his wife to help deliver there. I think they had a new baby boy, so salute to Brandon Aubrey on that. But it's definitely changes the course of a game when you have a reliable kicker. Going back, we had like Brett Maher, right? Brett Maher was good for a little bit, but then he got shaky in the playoffs. So having someone that you can rely on, not for 65 yards, but having someone that you can really rely on definitely changes the course of the game in your decision when it comes to playmaking. So Brandon Aubrey was an incredible find. I mean, we actually got 2 UFL, special team values when we got Brandon Aubrey, but we also found Kavontae Turpin, who was out of TCU, had some issues, went to the UFL, and then now he's one of the top kick returners / punt returner weapons that the Cowboys have. So I know we get on the Cowboys, me personally, and I know a lot of people, Cowboys fans, for like bargain shopping, but sometimes they find some jewels in the bargain. You know what I'm saying? At the thrift store, they'll find something every now and then. Now, don't rely on it too heavily, but Brandon Aubrey was definitely one of those finds.
I mean, he was the equivalent of walking into the thrift store and finding like a Gucci jacket.
Right,
right. I'm looking at these numbers. How easy we forget how incredible this year was last year. 36 of 38. We just kind of said, 65, tee-hee, whatever. He did drill a 60-yarder last year, but the most impressive aspect of the season, 10 for 10 from 50 yards more or over. And you look at the Dallas Cowboys, and I feel like what they get criticized the most for is big games, not being able to get over that hump. But how much of a difference it makes to have a guy like him being able to add that much more to the fold, because you look around the league and the top teams, for the most part, have one of those guys that they can rely on. And the fact that you're able to get him basically out of nowhere and then go from that to just ascending into perhaps one of the best kickers, if not the best, going into this season.
Yeah.
I'm looking at these numbers, blowing my mind.
Yeah. Because if you go back before Brandon Aubrey, we had Brett Maher, and Brett Maher was on a kind of run like that. And then we got to something in Tampa. When we got to the playoffs, he couldn't get an extra point. He couldn't get a field goal.
Yeah.
Like, he just broke. And then we went to San Fran and lost that game, and he missed a few. So it's like having a consistent kicker definitely changes it. And they found this guy out of nowhere, and he's been pretty much the most reliable weapon outside of CeeDee Lamb that we could rely on last season. And hopefully that continues to be the trend.
We've made it almost a half hour without talking about CeeDee Lamb. Don't you worry. We're going to talk about it in just a minute here. I promise. Before we do, though, Kid, I want to ask you, you didn't get to see Daniel Jones this past weekend. You're going to see him this upcoming weekend against the Houston Texans. It's going to be his first outing since the injury. I'm curious, the Giants looked good last week without many of the starters in there. You might be able to get Neighbors out there this weekend off a bit of a shaken up injury this past week. And then you might be able to get him out there with Daniel Jones as well. I'm interested to know, what are you looking for, albeit, limited time, I'm sure, this upcoming weekend, but what are you looking for out of Daniel Jones to make you feel, at least somewhat confident in his ability to come off this injury looking right, kick things off 3 weeks from this upcoming weekend here?
I just want to see how he handles pressure. It's kind of been the biggest thing for Daniel Jones his entire career, is him being able to feel out pressure. I mean, last year we had, I don't know what to take away from this preseason game, whether he plays well or not, because last year against the Carolina Panthers, I believe it was the Panthers, I think that was his first time playing in the preseason. It was after the Detroit Lions game, and he came out and was firing on all cylinders, threw like dots to Darren Waller multiple times. It was I believe it was a touchdown drive, and he looked great. And then we go into the season and he struggled mightily. So I guess the biggest thing I could take away that I want to take away from Daniel Jones being out there against the Texans is him just feeling out the pressure, him just, coming off that ACL injury and his movement. And I also want to see chemistry as well. He has a tough time trying to adjust with Jalen Hyatt, how fast he is. And surprisingly, he has really good chemistry with Malik Neighbors. I want to see that displayed versus another team.
And in regard to Malik Neighbors, just real quick, it's sounding like everything's going fine. Back to practice, might be able to play this upcoming weekend. Mm-hmm. Just where were you at as far as your headspace was concerned, though, when you first heard he got shaken up a little bit? Were you thinking like, here we go again? Or did you know, I'm all right,
It's funny. I made a video about this because Giants Twitter, absolutely, because we've been hit with the injury bug. I mean, Washington knows about it too. They've been hit with the injury bug over the past couple of seasons too for a while. The Giants are no different. I mean, we can be excited about a free agent player, a player that we drafted in the first round or even fifth round, a guy that never gets hurt in his career, and you play for the Giants, you're gonna get hurt. And it's been just like, here we go again sort of thing. So it's funny. I made a video about it. Malik Neighbors went down with the ankle injury, and Giants Twitter, the world stopped spinning. The world stopped spinning. Nobody knew anything yet, besides the fact that he did leave practice early, and we were just like, oh, he's done. He's done for the season. We don't know what happened. Did he go down a non-contact injury? When your knee buckles and all that stuff. But it was just an ankle injury. He did the Kay Adams interview literally right after the interview. Kay Adams even came out and said if he was really that hurt, he wouldn't have done the interview. She didn't hear anything about it, and it seems like he interviewed just fine. And he's already back at practice. We don't know if we're going to see him versus the Texans. Hopefully we do, but I don't want to like rush him back or anything like that. Only if if he's really cleared to go. There was another injury as well. Tyrone Tracy, if you guys know who he is, he had a funny story. I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here. That was even worse. People thought that was even worse than the Malik Neighbors injury. Okay. This guy got carted off the field. He got put in an air cast, and people are very excited about Tyrone Tracy. They think that he can be the starting running back moving forward, and I do as well. I really love the kid. I made a whole short documentary on him, but they brought out everybody for him, right? And Giants Twitter imploded because they love him. He's a fan favorite. Come to find out, he just has a sprained ankle. Not even a high ankle sprain. Nothing is broken. He sprained his ankle. He's going to be on either day to day or week to week, and he'll be fine for week one. They put him in an air cast and carted him off the field. He was crying. I was like, oh my God, it's over. They put pictures all over on Twitter. They left us in the dark for like 5 hours. And so it was nothing. That's how bad Giants Twitter can be. Yeah.
How'd the media spin that?
The media spun it where like, I can literally pull up articles saying that he might be done for the season. The Giants have to figure out what they're gonna do at running back with just Devin Singletary and Eric Gray. They can't do it without him, bro. I was like, oh my God, I have to stop looking at this stuff. I have to, because it's gonna make me lose my mind. I had to wait for more information, and it was just a sprained ankle. Yep.
Out of all the things that are not ideal about the offseason and the preseason in particular, and there's a laundry list of them, the one thing that might annoy me the most is the fact that you are reliant solely on the beat reporters feeding you the info. You can't watch it unless you are at the practice. You can't watch it. There's no stream. You're not there.
Right.
So, if a player has an untied shoe, you're going to see a tweet that's like, so-and-so hobbles off the sideline. Could be because the shoe is untied.
Yep.
But you see it, and to your point, KB, it's like you see these tweets, then all of a sudden, like you said, there's a gap, whether it's an hour, 5 hours, and you're like, well, what the hell is going on? Is the guy done for the year, or did he run off to the bathroom? You have no clue.
Four Cowboys players went to the tent today in practice. I'm like, what's going on?
Man. Minnesota set a real nasty tone for how this training camp is going. I need them to just scrap training camp.
Right, yeah. Cowboys over here doing some extra credit scrimmages. Like, bro, we ain't doing no extra credit. Like, let's just get
I just thought it was funny because not only did the beat reporters kind of exaggerate a little bit, the Giants did as well. I mean, he had an injury equivalent to like playing a pickup game of basketball, and you kind of roll your ankle and you're on the ground like, all right, guys, I'm out. Right. They brought out the cart. He was crying. They brought out the cart. They had a picture of him crying, and they put him in the air cast. I was
they about to medevac him to the hospital.
And air support and just like airlifting in the hospital, man.
Well, Rio, you said it though. I mean, the Vikings have casted an omen over every fan base now. Where you see something, you're just assuming the worst because it felt like within a 48-hour time span, the Vikings, kind of similar to what you guys got going on in Washington. You got high hopes, you got all these new guys, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God. I know. That's the problem. This is the problem with the preseason is that you can say, oh, don't play your starters or the guys that you plan on starting at some point in the preseason because of the injury situation. Or you could have a guy like for my Buffalo Bills, Matt Milano, he's tackling a beanbag and he's out for the year. So it's the luck of the draw. It sucks.
I hate that for
y'all. That's
y'all.
the preseason.
Yeah, that sucks, man.
That JJ McCarthy injury made me question my life for what I want to see in preseason. Like I was like, do I really want to see Jayden Daniels play Saturday versus the Miami?
Did he get hurt in the game?
McCarthy? It was the game, right?
Yeah.
He lasted throughout. It didn't seem like that was the thing about it. No one really knew the extent of it. Yeah. And it's one of those injuries where you can never tell, and then they evaluate it based on how much surgery it needs, and then boom, he's done for the year.
I don't even know when Victor Cruz went down with that torn meniscus against the Eagles, all that long ago. What was it, 2014 to 2013? I mean, he was on the floor in the end zone for like 20 minutes. So if JJ McCarthy pulled through that, that's insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah. You got to think though, in the future here, we're going to get less. Once the 18th game rolls around, there's going to be only probably 2 preseason games, and eventually it'll only be 1. But
they're going to scrap. They need to just scrap it and charge fans to come to joint practice because they're not going to do anything for free. So just charge us admission, sell some beers and some glizzies at joint practice, and call it a day.
Right.
That would suck. I would really be sad if they got rid of preseason games because I love seeing the underdogs fight it out. I love seeing those guys fight for a job in a roster spot, and you see the passion out there, man. You see the passion, even though you don't know half of the guys' names out there. You see the passion out there. They're trying to earn a roster spot. It sucks that might be the road that we're going down is no preseason games eventually.
Yeah, I love preseason because a lot of us are draft sickos, so it's like
of course. I want to see all those 5th round, 6th round rookies that I fell in love with go out there and
like
fall out,
undrafted heroes in the summertime.
Absolutely.
Well, I done seen many come and go in Ashburn.
Well, that's the Dallas Cowboys bread and butter. It's the UDFA. So we've been hitting like a Brandon Aubrey or a Wanye Thomas or a Marquise Bell, like some of those guys who come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden you start, and the average fan is like, who the hell is that? Well, we got a Udafa that's probably going to make the roster this year coming out of Texas Tech over here, Tyler Owen. So I know exactly what y'all talking about.
For the Giants, is usually just out of necessity because we just never have any. we had a guy, I think it was like 2015, Owani Unga. I mean, he didn't deserve to be playing football at all. He was our starting middle linebacker, undrafted free agent rookie. I mean, it's
the Cowboys have about 3 or 4 every year.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. We talked about it a bunch tonight. Like, if you don't take a chance, then you don't wind up with a Brandon Aubrey. If you don't take Brock Purdy with the final pick of the draft, you don't. Who knows where the Niners are? It's incredible how it winds up unfolding. The one thing I wish they do, and they never do it just because of the cheating optics, I guess. But you got to think it would be a gold mine. I would love through that NFL Plus if they streamed the ability to watch the practices that have an audience. I'm not talking about the private practices, but when you have these training camp practices where you have a ton of people coming and watching, like for anybody I mean, of course, Jay Tuck's a perfect example because there's Cowboys fans all over the planet. Not everybody's going to be able to get to a practice, but if you had the ability for like $9 to stream a month's worth of practice, I mean, that would be awesome. They would make a killing, but it's just
y'all don't do that. We're the one team that does that.
What's that?
Our scrimmage versus the Rams was on YouTube. Like,
we had that at one point.
Oh yeah, Cowboys, yeah.
Oh, like through the actual team's
yeah. You know, they put it on display.
It's Jerry Jones, man. He's trying to make a profit out of anything. they need to
put this on display.
Yeah. Jerry gonna make his money and then not pay people.
Right, you're right.
And on top of that, think about the content for us content creators. I mean, to cover and break down a whole scrimmage at practice.
Oh yeah,
right. Great.
Yeah, so Cowboys Nation, salute to Cowboys Nation. They kept me. I had multiple angles. I had all 22 angles. I had like 4 different monitors. So that's what I was watching on the last roundtable we did because we were scrimmaging against the Rams at the same time. So
John Mara needs to go out there and copy that game, man.
I'm jealous. I absolutely love it.
I need that in my life, man.
We've been towing the line a little bit. I just heard Jerry Jones's name pop up. Rio threw a little bit of a dig in there about
my bad.
So we're about to get to it, but before we do. Before we dive into it, we got to dive into one of my favorite ad reads, and that's Dan Mitchell talking about panties and your balls. A quick word from Shinesty.
Now, you'll probably notice that half of our representatives at Roundtable Sports always have their undies in a bunch when it comes to their favorite NFL team. And listen, I'm sure that they're getting sick of that feeling where they're feeling a wedgie rather than a warm hug. Maybe they want to say goodbye to uncomfortable chafing and hello to the softest underwear they will ever wear. Well, folks, let me introduce you to Shinesty.com, the underwear company that is here to revolutionize the underwear game. Let's be honest, life is too short for boring undies. These are so soft, y'all. You won't even realize you're wearing them. With the moisture-wicking technology and a perfect fit that never rides up, you'll quite literally feel like your balls are floating on a cloud all day long. And look at some of these absolute designs. And get this, folks, if you use our code at checkout, you can get an additional 15% off your order, RTS15. Remember, supporting our sponsors is a way to support us over at Roundtable Sports. So stop neglecting your balls and give them the gift of Shinesty underwear. Link is in description.
Stop neglecting your balls, boys. And
thanks, Dan.
From the words of many around the National Football League, people are saying, Jerry Jones, stop neglecting your players. Jerry Jones, the gift that keeps on giving. If the guy is great at one thing, it is staying at the top of the news cycle, even in the middle of the gold run for the USA men's basketball team, the end of the Olympics. Jerry Jones still on the top of the stack. So the saga continues. We still wonder what's going to happen with Dak's future. Micah Parsons has been really good about it this offseason, hasn't caused an issue for the Cowboys yet, even though he's going to be due for some money. But of course, the main topic with these Dallas Cowboys in terms of a contract currently is CeeDee Lamb. So we all know by now, I'm sure, how this has gone down. Last week, I think it was the day after we did our first episode, we get a quote from the quote master, Jerry Jones, who pretty much says there's no urgency behind getting CeeDee Lamb signed. And then we know CeeDee Lamb takes it to the next level. He hops on the Twitter machine with a simple 3 letters, LOL, sets the world on fire. Then you watch this past preseason game, which CeeDee wouldn't have played in anyways, but it doesn't help the fact that the Cowboys force 4 turnovers. They don't end up getting into the end zone. They might get the thought juices going where you're like, oh, this offense, we need CeeDee Lamb, even though he wouldn't have been out there in the first place. Then Jerry Jones, after that game, wanted to clarify that what he meant by no urgency, was the fact that there's not an urgency to get him out on the field for the preseason. It wasn't in terms of the contract. I'll leave it up to everybody else's interpretation as far as whether or not you thought that is what he meant. But we're going to start with Jay Tuck here, and then I'm dying to get the rest of the panel's thoughts because it's always interesting to get the in-house thoughts and then the outside looking in. But right now, as it stands, Jay Tuck, Micah Parsons says CeeDee Lamb is going to be out on that field in 3 weeks for the Dallas Cowboys in week 1. Give me your overall thoughts on how Jerry Jones has approached this situation, how he kind of added fuel to the fire, try to put the fire out, and then give me your thoughts on how CeeDee Lamb has kind of reacted to all this and the situation he's been put in because of Jerry Jones?
Yeah, I think it's just a huge problem, not just with CeeDee Lamb, but if we go through the history with contract negotiations in Dallas, is always an extra push or an extra fight or a media smear campaign that these players have to go through. And I personally don't understand it. I know a lot of Cowboys fans don't understand it either, because a lot of these players that are going for these contracts, they've earned it, right? CeeDee Lamb, one of the top wide receivers, I think we'll all agree, in the NFL last year. He produced at a high level, and your offense could not move in the same manner it did without CeeDee Lamb. So it's time to pay him. So I think when it comes to the Cowboys, it's just they want to sit back and be reactive, never proactive. So you take a team, even though he's gone, right? What Philly Mike and what the Eagles have done with D. Smitty. D. Smitty was drafted in the draft class after CeeDee Lamb, and he's already getting paid. So the Cowboys like to sit on their hands and sit back and make things ugly. Now, will CeeDee Lamb be out there week one? Absolutely. I would be shocked if he's not out there week one. But now look at what you're doing. You're dragging your player through the mud. You're also letting him miss OTAs, mandatory OTAs, and also camp. So he's not, even though he'll be in sync with Dak, his body's probably not going to be in rhythm as well. So there might be a delay before we can see the CD that we're accustomed to seeing. So I don't understand why the Cowboys always try to play these dirt games when it comes to negotiations. I think it's a lot to do with ego, but it does the team no good, because if you would have handled Dak Prescott back in February or handled CeeDee Lamb back in February, that would extend it and gave you a lot more money to be a little bit more proactive in free agency. But now we're sitting here damn near in September saying, okay, we got to make room to sign CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. You should have did it earlier. In that draft, when you drafted CeeDee Lamb and you placed 88 on his back, you should have started saving your nickels and your pennies right then, because you knew this was coming up. Soon as you moved on from Amari Cooper, you should have said, we're going to stash money for CeeDee Lamb because he's going to be one of the top paid. Just like when the Cowboys moved on for Tony Romo and named Dak Prescott as a quarterback, you should have started stacking money because you knew this day was going to happen. But the Cowboys always want to kick the money down the hill, and ultimately they pay the price. But CeeDee Lamb will not be out there without a contract. And honestly, the leverage is on his side, because even if he does miss games, he'll lose money. But we're not getting through possibly the Browns. We probably can get by the Saints, but we damn sure ain't beating the Ravens without 88 out there. So he has to leverage those first three games. And in the Giants game, he'll probably, anybody's a little, but
watch it.
But yeah, man, we just need to pay our guys and be more proactive. So I don't get the mindset. We have money sitting there available, but it's just the way Steven and Jerry Jones goes about business, which doesn't make sense to anybody.
What doesn't make sense the most about it, and you alluded to it, is the fact that they do always end up paying it, but they wind up putting themselves in a corner that costs them a ton more than it would have. Like, you're going to have to pay him. Why wait for Jalen Waddle to get a deal? Why wait for Tyreek Hill to get a deal?
Chase now holding out.
Exactly. So, I don't understand the mindset when you know for a fact you're going to end up doing it. For a guy who's, the 0.0001% of the population throughout history in terms of business acumen, getting had what seems like on a routine basis by your players. Dak Prescott's about to take him to the woodshed for a second time here. So I just, that's what must blow that's what blows my mind the most. Is that to you the most frustrating part, knowing it's going to get done, just the fact that you didn't do it in the first place and it really just made no sense the entire time?
Exactly, because the price continues to climb. And they went through this with Dak Prescott. When I was a young little content creator back in 2020, some of my verse videos was like, we need to sign him, Dak Prescott, back in 2020, and sign Dak before Carson Wentz, and sign Dak before Jared Goff. And they set back, they franchise tagged him not once, but twice. So then the value is up. So Dak Prescott, if you wanted to get away from him, you could have been did it. But now you're sitting back in a situation where you have all this money that's backlogged because you want to develop these payment plans. Like we buy our players on a firm or something. And it's just like, now we're sitting, it's just like but then we try to blame the players when it's not the players' fault. It's the organization's fault, the front office, because they're not being proactive. And you see so many teams around the league doing it. Hell, just look at our division rival. Like, they do it every day. So whatever math or calculator that Howie Roseman got, let's just buy one for y'all, Jerry, because he must got one of those digital ones. Y'all remember those?
Make it work, man.
Right? Yeah.
You used to like be able to do graphs and stuff. Howie must got one of those, because I don't know what the hell Jerry and Steven got, but if you look at the numbers, we don't spend money. We're still at the bottom of the NFL with money spent and cap spent. We still have the cap spaces, but our two most important pieces are not signed, and hell, our coach is not signed. So it's like I don't know what they're doing. They sit back and just wait for things to hit the fan, and then they'll just say, not our fault, it's the coach's fault, it's Dak's fault, and then it'll be the same rotating cycle year after year, unfortunately.
KB, how do you view this whole circus from the outside looking in? Because it feels like a nightmare from inside. Is it something that, even knowing, Dallas might have a better season than us this year, it's kind of nice on the outside looking in saying, at least we're not dealing with this on a consistent basis, this carousel of nonsense that never seems to go away.
Yeah, as the great Stephen A. Smith would say, when it comes to the Cowboys, what can go wrong will go wrong, especially in the colder months. Listen, I'm all about it. I love seeing it as a Giants fan, but it does confuse me a little bit how Jerry Jones, like you said, Z-Bot, like top 0.0001% when it comes to business, sports business, and how long he's been running this team and how successful the team once been, to now thinking that he has all the leverage in the world when quite frankly, he just doesn't. I mean, Dak Prescott can probably leave at the end of this year and get paid. It's not like Dak Prescott wouldn't get paid anywhere else, or CD Lamb. Like, those guys can be gone now, whenever their contracts are up. So it is a little bit confusing, but I love to see it, of course. And that confuses me, J Tug. That's true? Most of the coaching staff is on 1-year deals. Like
everybody,
they're on prove it deals. Coaches
they even brought Mike Zimmer in, the defensive coordinator. He's on a 1-year deal.
I've never heard of that before.
Everybody is prove it, except Jerry and Steve. Everybody got something to prove. Everybody got something to prove, but the guys upstairs. Yeah, Mike McCarthy's in a 1-year deal, and so that's what Jerry quotes is all in, right? So everybody's just be all in right now, and then next year we'll take care of next year. Like, no, that's not how it works.
It's just like you're sending the wrong message, right? When you're the owner, and on top of that, he's kind of like, he is the owner and GM, right? Like, he's like, he runs like all the operations, and he's basically telling everybody like your time isn't promised here. Like, it's like all of you guys can be gone, players and coaches, thinking that he has all the leverage, but if they all leave, I mean, he's not gonna have anything,
It doesn't work that way. Let's say, for instance, Dak Prescott goes crazy. He's an MVP, and let's say the Cowboys finally get to the Super Bowl. Well, it doesn't matter, right? Because we got to the game. I'm a free agent, bro, and now my value is even higher because the Raiders are saying now I got MVP Dak and Super Bowl Dak or whatever that you can bring him in. So you're just competing with yourself. This whole all-in approach. They want to do things the Patriots way, but they don't have a Hall of Fame quarterback and a Hall of Fame coach. That's the GM running the ship. So it's just unfortunate.
And the Patriots can't even do it the Patriots way.
Right. They can't do it anymore. They can't even do it anymore.
The Patriots way is dead and buried right now.
Right.
It's over.
And that's it's a great problem to have when you have to pay your players. But like we're talking about right now, you have to pay your players. If you draft well, you get good free agents in, like the Cowboys do. They've drafted well these past couple of years. Guys that we thought were like, oh, they're not going to do anything with those guys. And they wound up being stars, especially on the offensive line position. It seems like whoever they draft for the offensive line are just absolute stars. You got to pay them at some point. That's the cost of drafting well.
You can't coin yourself as a draft and develop team and get mad when your players actually develop. That's the whole point.
Right. I wish the Giants had that problem. Like, I really do. I can't wait for our draft picks to leave.
Like, when you think about Tyler Smith, like you got Tyler Smith, you also got Deron Bland. Like, it just happens. So you got to pick a side. So we'll see.
Because then it comes off almost like you're rooting against your own team. Because like you just said, J Tug, if they do win the Super Bowl, you have to pay him an infinite amount more. And if they don't, then it's like, oh, Jerry wins. But it's like, does he really win? Because at the end of the day, the reason he wound up coming out on top is because the Cowboys didn't come out on top. I don't get it. Rio, what do you make of all this nonsense?
I love it. Like, I can't get enough of it. To be perfectly honest,
brand new now.
Everything. It feels good. Like, it feels good to have ownership not be a topic of the conversation. I feel like Jerry Jones, he's not in the football or winning business anymore. He's just in the business of business. Like, he's like a bad movie company. He's like DC Universe. The fans are going to go pay for it regardless of how ass the movies are. They're going to still show up.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, my God. Yes. Yes. M. Night Shyamalan. Perfect. Spot on. They're going to go see it because my name's on it and because this is a proven brand. You know what I'm saying? So the guys are going to show up regardless. You know, he's so out of touch with everything. I love it. Like from my lens here in Washington, I hope they screw it up with CD and he requests a trade. I hope Dak's gone next year, and I hope they screw it up with Micah Parsons when it's time to pay him as well.
Yes.
I want their big three, and I want them to bring in a new coach. I want them to feel rebuilding. I want them to go back to feeling what it's like to start from the bottom while
Hit that
other
reset
teams
button, man.
while other teams are ascending. I want this to go as badly as possible. I hope CD is holding out when the season starts. That would be ideal for all of us. Jerry Jones, keep cooking, my boy. You are doing great work down there right now. Talk your shit. Get on Twitter.
I have to find me a replacement on the show for all that.
Listen. I'm the biggest Dak fan. Give him that $70 million, baby. Give him that. Pay Dak that $70 million, baby. Come on, go ahead.
$70 million. Give him that $70 million.
The Cowboys. The Cowboys. Pay that $70 million.
Even better, bro.
Give him that $70
Let
million.
him go and build around Trey Lance. That's what I'm here for. That's what I want. Trey Lance. Put him on the billboards in Texas and give me Trey Lance on the schedule twice a year. That is charcoal chicken. That is a guy who still looks 20 years old as a player 4 years into his career. Please let Dak go. Please let CD go. Please let Micah Parsons be disgruntled and want to become a full-time podcaster and not a football player. I love it when my enemies are going through turmoil, because my whole life as a Washington fan has been turmoil up to this point. It's been a funny offseason. We're doing draft trades with the Eagles. The Giants and the Cowboys just made a trade this week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're doing late round picks.
Keep your enemies close, I guess, right?
Right.
Rio wants 41 pass attempts from Trey Lance on a week.
You might get 50 on Saturday. You might get 50 on Saturday.
50 pass attempts to put up 190. Let's go.
Hey, how about that, Dak? How about that 60 pass attempts and 2 touchdowns, baby? Come on.
And that's what I said. I told every Cowboys fan who's wanting Trey Lance, close your eyes and picture that was a game versus the Giants or versus the Commanders. Because that could have happened where your defense lights out and you can't even move the ball and get in the end zone. Nope. I went through that in 2020 when Dak went down. I said, never again. Y'all on your own with that one. Nope.
As we round out, fellas, on episode number 2, week 2 of the NFC East Roundtable, I'm interested to know one quick thing from each of you that you're looking forward to seeing in week 2 of the preseason. I'll go back to you, Rio, here. What's one thing you're looking out for coming up this weekend as the Commanders take on the Miami Dolphins?
Two-headed answer, but one answer. Ron Rivera is what Ron Rivera did here was draft 4 first-round picks that could possibly all be non-factors here. I need to see something from his last 2. Jahan Dotson is possibly not a starting receiver. I don't know if you guys know that. Yeah. He is battling for wide receiver 2 with De'Ami Brown and Olamide Zaccheaus. And he's not winning right now. He played the whole first half of preseason week 1. He's out there playing with Jeff Driscoll 34 snaps last week. So I need to see something from Jahan Dotson, and I just need to see a pulse that Emmanuel Forbes could be an NFL player. I need to see any type of progress, a pass deflection, an interception, or just being in the right place in the vicinity of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I need to see something from our last 2 first-round picks, because our last 4 were Chase Young, gone, Jamin Davis fighting for his life at a different position, Jahan Dotson fighting for his life in the receiver room, and Emmanuel Forbes, he just got beat by wide receiver 6-4 touchdown last week versus the Jets. So I need to see something from our last 2 first-rounders.
KB, what are you looking for out of your Giants this weekend against the Texans?
That we just come out healthy, man. I just want us to come out healthy, man. Of course, I want to see all those, roster bubble guys go out and fight it out. And I also want to see a little bit from the starters, not too much, just a little bit from the starters, just to kind of shake the rust off a little bit. I kind of want to see Daniel Jones and Malik Neighbors prematurely before we see them in week 1. But yeah, just get out there and come back healthy, because all these injury scares that we've had in the past week or so, my heart can't take anymore. So
outside of another 40 pass attempts, J Tuck, what's one thing you're looking for out of the Cowboys this weekend?
Yeah, I'm watching our young center and Cooper Beebe, who's been named the starter, to see how he continues to progress, and then also on the defensive side, Mozzie Smith, see if he's continuing to get pushed and stack those good days. But overall, the young guys, and staying healthy, just like Kid Blue said, man. Stay alive, stay healthy. That's all I wanted to do.
Love it. Well, week 2 of the preseason coming up this weekend, and we will be back with you next week to recap that. But for the recap of preseason week 1, we're in the books here. Thanks so much to Jay Tuck, KB, and Rio. And of course, thanks to all of you guys who tuned in tonight. On your way out, make sure to hit the like button and really make sure to hit the subscribe button so that you can tune into this show each and every week throughout the year. It's been fun, fellas, early on here in the preseason, but I cannot wait till we really sink our teeth into the regular season and watch all you boys go at it on a weekly basis. Also on your way out the door, 125% sign-up bonus through BetUS, up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. Make sure to take advantage of that as well. All right, folks, for Jay Tuck, KB, Rio, I'm your host, Z-Bot. Enjoy your weekend, and we look forward to joining you again next week on the NFC East Roundtable. Peace.